Hi, everyone. I just want to introduce my good friend, Dr. Traci Stein, and she's the first in my new series called Shelf Help, where I ask people who I think have a lot of wisdom to tell us their favorite three spiritual books that have helped them the most. So Tracy, what are your three or two books that you've got?
So I have a few books and I wanted to make sure, by the way, hi, Leslie. So good to see you. I was thinking about what books to pick because there are so many. So I picked two books that are current books and that may surprise you as I describe them as spiritually themed. And then the third one is pretty overtly spiritually themed. But the first one is actually a very popular book right now. It's Mind Magic by Dr. James R. Doty. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't.
So he's got such a compelling story. Basically, he's talking about manifesting, but from a neuroscience perspective. So there is an element of the mystical, but it's really very subtle. And what he really does is through his own case reports and exercises in his own personal journey, talks about, how manifesting is a daily practice, not just something we do, woo when we want something to be different and then we forget it. He talks about the brain is really important in helping us manifest things because if we don't change things on the inside and have a clear intention and be consistent and a clear vision for what we want and change some of our own kind of I'm going to call it our ideas about ourselves. As a person who does hypnosis, I would say trance states. That's not the word he uses. But
Okay.
if we don't change those things, it is really hard to either make effective change manifest, but also to keep it going and hold on to the good things that we bring to ourselves when they do come. And he shares how, I mean, basically, he went from a person with an extremely difficult childhood marked by parents with severe mental illness, poverty, food insecurity, just a lot of instability and wanting something different. And what he did is he was lucky enough to have a teacher, and he talks a little bit about that. Fast forward, he becomes an extremely successful neurosurgeon, extremely wealthy, and married with children, but he loses everything. And that
Wow.
actually is the beginning of his really taking a better look at himself, but also learning to manifest in a more meaningful and enduring way. So it's not just about the things. So that would be the first book. That's a super cursory overview.
Okay, and to spell his last name so people can find it.
Sure, it's James Doty, Doty.
Okay.
And it's a really popular book right now for good reason. It's well written, it has great exercises. I don't think you can use the book without changing in a good way. And it's
Good.
super approachable. And that I like that too. It demystifies things and puts them in approachable and interesting language.
Awesome.
Those are usually my top criteria for a book that I think I would recommend. So the second book is Make Money Easy by Lewis Howes, who has an incredibly popular podcast. He is someone who also has had a really interesting journey. He's someone who's mega successful, but he's devoted his life to helping other people in a variety of ways, and he's really done a lot of work on himself. So he's got the Greatness podcast and the School of Greatness. What I like about this book, Make Money Easy, is this. It is one of the things that most of us, I'm not even going to say many people, but most of us struggle with. Because money isn't just about money, it's about self-worth. It's about what we think we can welcome in. It's about abundance on other levels as well. And so what he did is he interviewed a whole bunch of super successful people, but again, many of them started out with, nothing and very challenging paths. And he shares what he's learned from them. I also like that his exercises and questions in the book help people to identify like, what are the things that hold us back from living an abundant life. So to me, it's not just about money. Money is just a way of thinking about abundance, but it's not the only one. But again, compelling stories, interesting and helpful advice from successful experts. And I just think it's an easy and engaging read. So that would
That's
be the second book. And there's a theme that ties in all three of these books, and it might not be obvious, and I'll clarify that in a moment. The third book is a book that I picked up, I'm going to say in the 90s when it first came out. I saw Barry Dolnick, who's the author, on, probably Good Day New York or something. And she was a very successful advertising executive. The book is Simple Spells for Love, but she has Simple Spells for Success and Simple Spells for Hearth and Home, and a book called The Executive Mystic. But she kind of had this secret, kind of private metaphysical practice, these set of practices she did, and everything from crystals to rituals to candles and oils and herbs. But she would, on her own time, teach other people, business people often, to use these tools, again, for manifestation, for releasing things too that we don't want. And I actually interviewed Barry on my podcast last year. She's a lovely woman. Her books are being re-released. I think they were last year. You can read Simple Spells for Love. I'm going to pick that one in under an hour. What I like about it is that our subconscious minds, we're wired for ritual, to be able to benefit from psychological rituals. So whether you think about this as metaphysical and magical, which I kind of do, but also whether you just want to look at it as how do we get to the deeper levels of our own psyche to create positive change? Again, letting things go we don't need and bringing things into being that we really want for ourselves. And, in Simple Spells for Love, she says things, she has rituals for clearing the path to love and getting really clear on what it is you want to attract. A lot of people, amazingly to me, like don't have a clear sense of what the essence is of what they really want. And I think these rituals help us to get into a deeper, quieter space and get clear. Because if we're not clear, we can't really make the very mundane steps to move forward and change our lives for the better. So I know I've said a lot. I don't know if you want me to take a breath.
No, that's perfect. That's just what I wanted to hear. I'm sure you have more than three, but these are
I do.
three. I know about the last one. You told me about that book a long time ago, but I always thought Barry was a man.
No.
So anyway, it doesn't matter. The book is great, but the other two brand new to me, so I'm so excited. And thank you so much, Tracy. And we'll be putting down below the names, and people can find these books. And thanks for being my first guest on Shelf Help.
Goodness, my pleasure. And again, I really think they all tie in, tapping into our subconscious and something beyond ourselves to make our lives better. And who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want that, especially these days, right?
So great to see you, Leslie.
Good to see you too. Thanks, Tracy. Bye.